Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the return of the improved version of the Z Trigger Podcast. My name is William Hill.
I'm Brandon Harris.
And we have some very new things with our podcast, and it's been a long time, so it's interesting to be back. Brandon, how do you feel about doing the podcast again?
Potentially good. We'll just have to see.
We just have to see?
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's completely different than what we were doing, so we'll see how this goes.
Yes.
I'm hoping it goes well.
And you, lovely listener, are the beta tester for this experiment. You should be excited. Shouldn't they be excited, Brandon?
Yes.
God help you all. Okay, well, anyway, this is still a video game podcast, but it's not just a video game podcast. We're going to be doing all sorts of nerdy crap from now on, and you're going to see what kind of fun and excitement that we do here on the show going forward through this lovely experience. And what do you say, Brandon? Let's kick off the first segment. It's the most old-fashioned Z-Trigger discussion that there could possibly be. What have you been playing this week?
Honestly, just one. Let's see. Of course, I've been playing the original Persona. And I've been doing that off and on. Been trying to sort of get used to it because I don't know why, but I'm having the hardest time adapting to walking. Like, you have, the dungeon is first person. Okay, that's simple enough. It's not hard to deal with. But when you go into a room, it goes into this isometric viewpoint, and for a reason, the controls, the directions aren't like what you think. Because if you push up, you don't go up. It's like all the controls are basically like turn. So up, it's actually going like right or left into the room. Like if you're going up and down, and left and right is actually moving you up and down the room. And for a reason, I cannot get myself to remember this. So I have a hard time getting to where I want to go in a room. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'm like, it should not be this it should not be this hard to play a game. I don't remember. I didn't have this issue with the other ones. They've definitely changed that with Persona 2. I do not remember ever having those issues. And I played Innocent Sin recently, not all the way through it, because for a reason I keep playing and stopping these games. But now my goal, I'm starting with Revelations, and I'm going to play through it. Not in the desired way, though, because I would like to play it on my TV, but I do not have a PlayStation TV, nor do I have the right PSP to hook up to my TV.
See, that's weird. That's weird, because your PSP was the Darth Vader PSP, right?
Yes, I have no idea where that's at. I could have traded that in. I don't know, to be honest. We're talking like 10 plus years. I have no idea.
Hasn't been that long. Not yet.
I've been here at least 6.
Yeah, but that's only 6. That's not 10 years.
Or maybe 7.
I think you may have gotten the PSP 10 years ago, because I remember I borrowed yours to play Crisis Core, and shot through that in like 3 days, and that was the year that Joe and I met.
I don't even remember when the Darth Vader came out. It was what game was that for? It was the Renegade Squadron game.
God, was it Renegade? Yeah, it was Renegade Squadron, because I beat that too. Man, I used to be able to beat games very fast at one time. I can't do that anymore. I've been trying to do that for the past 2 days, and
2007, so I got it 11 years ago.
But you had it whenever we last lived together. That's all I remember.
I have no idea what happened to it. It could be here, but you've talked to me while I've rummage through my closet of treasures. I don't remember seeing it. But other than that, I've also been trying to play Kingdom Hearts 2. I've also been trying to play Black Sigil for the DS. Well, yeah, DS.
In other words, you've been all over the place like I have been lately.
Yeah, I'm not really settled. I think I'm finally going to be settling with Persona. I picked that up consistently. Well, in the mornings, I feel like by the time I get home from work, I don't really get to sit down and play because I have other things to do. And by the point in time I'm actually truly sitting down, it's 10 o'clock, and it's like, oh, time to go dead. I'm dead because I'm tired.
And here we are at midnight recording a podcast. Oh, the joys. Well, I'm in the same boat. I've not been able to settle on anything since I finished Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD Remix Final Chapter Prologue.
Oh, Jesus.
That ridiculous title, yes. I finished that, and it's been about 2 weeks ago now, and at first I was playing Tales of Xillia, and I put several hours on Tales of Xillia, and that's a good game. That's a good JRPG. The plot's interesting, but I don't feel like... Here's a problem with having played like 3 Kingdom Hearts titles back to back, like I did.
Mm-hmm.
I got addicted to... I guess addicted is the right word. I got very used to that very specific gameplay loop, where it's rewarding you constantly visually and like in an intrinsic way. So I got used to feeling like I was making character progress with my skills and my levels and things like that. So then going to Tales of Xillia, where you level up not quite fast enough because I'm ahead of the curve, and then when you do get your level, you go in and you plug your GP into certain stat slots on a spiderweb version of the stupid sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. Far more linear and much less interesting to level up on. So, because of that, I've not attached to playing it yet. So this week, having played that for about a week and change, I started playing Mad Max on the Xbox One, which is good, but it's a sandbox game, so there's that problem where it's like, I'm going to be playing this game forever if I keep playing it, because there's so many little icons on the map, it's going to drive me crazy. And then yesterday I sat here and I went through like 4 or 5 games on the PS2 and whatnot, just trying to decide on something to play. It's been frustrating. But because of you, I've been talking. I pulled up Persona 4 on my Vita, and I haven't played it, but I opened it. Yeah,
game's hard.
Yeah, I know, and it's also hellishly long.
Yeah,
a friend of mine at work, Jack. I think he said that his first run of Persona 4 took 150 hours, and that's
how.
That's how long the game is.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. I mean, he had to let that going and stepped away. Yeah, because if you're abiding by the schedule of the game, it's really not that long. I mean, I don't know. I guess
there's also the grind to take into account.
And there's only so much of that you can do each day, thanks to the whole you can't really refill your mana pool. That's what makes that game hard, is the fact that you run out of your magic really quickly, and when you do, it makes them places really hard.
I can believe it. I have not tried yet, and I want to. I really want to. If I actually sat down and played through my PS Vita library and work towards finishing those games exclusively, I could finish my library on the Vita in a couple of months. Unfortunately, two of the games I have for the Vita will make that very difficult. One of them is Persona 4, the other is Disgaea 5 or Disgaea 4 or 3. It's 3.
See, I don't even remember. I got pretty far in Persona 4. I just don't remember where it was. It just got so difficult.
That is a concern I have, is getting stuck in that game. And I want to play it, though. I want to play it.
But 5, I find it a lot easier.
That's something to look forward to. In addition to that, because I have a problem. This is a problem we've talked about recently. I have a problem of I have tons and tons of RPGs that I need to play. And yet I keep looking at more because I have a disease and an addiction to this genre. And because we've been talking about Mega 10 games this week while you've been playing them, I've got several of them pulled up on Amazon from the PS2. Do you know you can still get some of those games brand new from the PS2?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to buy them, but, you know, I'm not making big money or anything. I'm going to be making more money soon because here's something new to share from the last time we did this podcast. I'm not working retail anymore after next week. Woo! So, maybe I'll have more time to play games like Persona 4 in the future. Okay, but other than that, this morning I tried to play Silent Hill 3. Our roommate is a huge Silent Hill fan and has been my living Silent Hill 3 strategy guide, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already gotten out of the mall and I've got less than an hour on the clock, which is apparently not bad, but I don't know how you could do that part faster. That is the most insanely complicated level map I've ever seen in a survival horror game. Like that map, when you look at it on the screen for the mall, makes that first thought that whenever you're playing the mansion in RE1, seem that it looks tiny by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you would go in a fraction of the rooms in that mall. Which I did play some Resi 1 when Jeremy was here last week, and I just fired it up, and I almost cleared the entire mansion section in a sitting. It was less than an hour, and I was about to go fight the snake, which would have gotten me the last pieces, or the last piece of the door puzzle. It was pretty awesome. It actually made me feel like someday I might be able to do a 3-hour run, which is something we should do on a stream the next time you're here. Like, actually get you to do a 3-hour run on Resi 1.
I would probably have to put in a little bit of practice first.
You should. I want to see it done in 3 hours, and I also want a save file where I can use infinite rockets and bomb my way through Resi 1 sometime. Oh, alright, so this next thing we are going to talk about, this is our new segment, but we're not ready to do it yet, because we're announcing it, I think is how we're doing this. We have 2 things like that this week. We're just announcing what we're intending to do. The first is, we are, you could call Brandon and myself frustrated anime fans. In that we like anime. We like the potential of the medium. We like a lot of the things that we've seen, or a small stack of things that we've both seen. It's probably more accurate. But we frequently find ourselves incapable of finding anime to watch. So, going forward, this middle segment of the show is going to be a review of the first episode of an anime series. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to review that first episode and see whether or not we would continue watching it based on that first impression. Brandon has chosen the first series that we will be discussing on the next episode. Brandon, why don't you tell the audience about it?
I chose this. I actually didn't know what route to go with this, because, you know, do you really want to tackle like the most popular things on, you know, the field first, or do you want to, you know, go off the beaten path and review other things that maybe somebody hasn't heard of before? But I chose, you know, well, I can't call it safe because I pretty much can already decide what we're gonna think of it. But I chose Death Note because,
which is pretty safe.
While Brad said that we're trying to find things to watch, mostly I thought of this segment out of just a sheer being an asshole of wanting to torture Brad with horrible anime, or maybe not horrible. You never know what you might find. But I thought the whole concept was reintroducing Brad to modern anime, trying to see if we can find a modern anime for Brad. And so I was like, we'll watch a first episode of an anime and review it. And it could be anything. Well, not anything. I'm not going to do porn.
I was trying to put a positive spin on this, and then you're just like, I'm trying to fuck with my buddy. Just ruin his damn day.
Like I said, you never know. I mean, because I went through, like, basically it's stuff that we could pick from is stuff that we both have available to us. So, like, Netflix, stuff like that.
Hulu and Crunchyroll.
Yeah, and there was
There's
one.
So much bad anime.
There was one that I was when it was showing the preview on Netflix, I was like, oh god, this would be gold, because it's literally everything you hate.
Well, give me some ideas and just tell me what's in it, and I will tell you whether or not you're right about whether or not I hate it.
No, because one day you'll have to watch it.
Oh,
and
Jesus Christ!
I'm going to wait for the reaction.
Oh Lord. Okay, so Death Note. Death Note is the thing with the kid who's got the notebook. You write somebody's name in it, they die, right?
Damn it, Brad!
That was my drawer with all my stuff tilting out of the shelf here. I'll fix that in a minute.
But yeah, so I chose Death Note because it is honestly, it's a hugely popular anime. And if you want to really introduce yourself to what modern anime fans enjoy, I can't think of anything more than that, aside from an Attack on Titan, which was another option. But I didn't want to do Attack on Titan. I wanted to do Death Note.
All right, so the way I see this, whenever we announce a show, because we're at the end of each anime review segment, week by week, we're going to announce the next week's show and give our pre-watching impression of the show based on the description. So, Brandon, tell me, before I say mine, because I know what mine is, what do you expect to see in Death Note?
Emo kids with the ability to kill people with a book.
Okay, I expect to see the most Hot Topic friendly, like, grimdark garbage that could ever have been conceived.
Isn't that what I just said?
Well, I went for I had an extra level because the emo thing's kind of gone at this point.
Yes, but if you go to Hot Topic, you still see that clothing.
Well, that's just what Hot Topic sells, but I guess that is sort of the same thing. But yeah, I'm going to go with pointlessly grimdark, Hot Topic accessible garbage anime. And we just made somebody mad. But hey, we're going to make them mad anyway with the anime segment. Because we're pretty much going to like spit on everybody's favorite stuff.
No. My goal is to possibly find something that Brad will approve of. And I will go through everything to find it.
If I will put it to everyone listening to this way. Recently, our roommate showed my wife, what's that thing called? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. One of the highest rated anime series in the world.
It is actually.
And
it's on up there.
And I watched the first 2 episodes, and do you know what I thought about the first 2 episodes, people? I thought it was terrible. I thought it was awful. I thought it was everything I hate about anime. All encapsulated in 1 hour of overrated garbage. And that might not be fair, but let me tell you something. Whenever you introduce your characters by having them fight things, and then like the only character trait you really give them is he doesn't like being called short. Kiss my ass, man. Cowboy Bebop nails its tone and storytelling right in the first episode. Kino's Journey, Amanda and I were watching that today. Amazing first episode. It tells you exactly what kind of show you're watching, who the characters are, and does not imply anything but the exact tone of what you're watching. if this greatest anime series of all time can't do that in the first 2 episodes, then I'm sorry, it's not perfect like everybody would like to claim that it is. So there you go. Brandon, that's the challenge you're dealing with. So, that is what our new anime segment's going to be like. I am terrified. How about you, Brandon?
I'm looking forward to it.
You would, bastard. All right. Now, for the next legitimate full-length type thing we're going to do. Are you prepared, Brandon, to talk about the thing a week?
Sure.
Do you want to do yours first? Do you want to do your thing a week first?
Sure.
Right.
This really isn't a thing from this week, but it's the thing that I feel like I could talk about, and it gives me another idea that I want to discuss.
You know, we haven't established the rules of thing a week. Thing a week.
Is anything geek or nerd related, or honestly, just
something cool we think is interesting, and we would like to share it with you.
Yes, but not gaming.
But it can't be a video game.
Yes, because we start with video games. It would be kind of pointless.
Yeah, we've already talked about the games we're playing. So the thing a week can be a comic book, it can be a novel, it can be a movie, TV show. It can be an album of music, if you want it to be. It can be a piece of technological gadgetry that we're having fun with. It is whatever thing we want to talk about that week, the thing a week. So, Brandon, what is your thing a week?
I'm going to talk about my best friend's exorcism.
Yes!
This was a book that, if I'm not mistaken, you did review on our book show that we used to have.
Yes, the Expanded Universe.
And much later, of course, up until today, and I finally read it. We'll see, when did I read it? I read it in March. I finished it March 25th. This was a very, very good book in many different ways. It was a great coming-of-age story. It was a great horror story. Peace story. Jesus. Well, it did the grow. I'm just retreading territory, but it was a very well written story, and it's kind of surprising. I've never, of course, this is what Greg Hendricks' second book.
Yep, it's his second book. His first book was Horror Store,
which I'm going to find. Every time I go to a bookstore of some kind, I look for it. Used bookstores. I have not found it yet, but I will find that book and I will read it. The premise of that one sounds amazing. But yeah, so my best friend's exorcism, is about Abby and Gretchen, 2 best friends since 5th grade. And they bonded over their shared love of E.T. of all things, and roller skating and scratches, sniff stickers for some reason.
Because it was the 80s, that's why.
Yes, because it was the 80s.
And before you continue, I just want to point out that you also have read, or you tried to read, Ready Player One in the past.
I was getting to that. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. Trust me, I'm getting to that. One of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed about the book, and it shows how you do this properly, is people like to go back and write books that take place in the past in a certain time period, and some can do it well and some can't. And the sense of Ready Player One, the entire book was just nothing but just references to 80s stuff, and not in such a way that you just feel it's just a part of the narrative. It's like it goes out of its way to constantly reference every bit of 80s pop culture that it possibly can, and its short book length is. And it actually turned me off really quickly because it just would not stop.
I remember when you were reading it, you literally were messaging me like, I can't do this. This is irritating.
It was irritating. It was very irritating. And if honestly, I mean, I'd not be a dick, but the book got it's got a 4.3 on Goodreads. It's got 560,000 ratings. If you go to his next book, Armada, at 3.5, not even remotely close in quality, because the other book just sold itself solely on the whole 80s nostalgia thing. I don't know why everyone just got so, attached to that, but that's the only reason why that book did well. Anyway, with my best friend's Exorcism, it doesn't do that. It's like think of your favorite period piece film and how it, yes, is it set in like the 70s or 80s? Yes. Does it do everything it possibly can to reference everything? No, it's a part of the background. It just happens to be in the 80s. Everything that's talked about is relevant to that time period. Like in this case of this book, their love of Peter Gabriel.
Yep.
It's Peter Gabriel, right?
Yeah, they dug Peter Gabriel.
Yes, every time they were in the car and a song came on, they had to stop everything they were doing and sing along with it.
That's right.
Though they changed the lyrics. I do remember that.
Yes.
And just see what else. God.
Well, I'm pretty sure I brought this up whenever I reviewed it on Expanded Universe last year. In the very beginning, during the E.T. birthday party, where they meet and they become friends, and they're singing the song and as they're dancing in the skating rink, and that song comes back up during the exorcism scene. Mm-hmm. That's that's how you do it. If you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it right, do it that way. That way.
God, who were they singing?
Oh God, it just completely left my brain whenever I was trying to bring it up and
it was
what song it was.
God. Was it Duran Duran? Was it?
I don't know if it was Duran Duran or not.
It was somebody. It was a band like that. I remember. Or was it the Go-Go's?
It was We Got the Beat. So yeah, it was the Go-Go's.
Yes. We Got the Beat. When I started reading, I groaned. Oh, I was like, oh God, it's so cheesy.
But when it came back up later, though, you're like, yes. Or at least I was.
It definitely had an interesting take on the whole exorcism thing. That's for damn sure. Because with the Exorcist, it sort of established what to sort of expect, and a lot of films and stuff has sort of basically copied that. And to a degree, this definitely drew influence, but its way of resolving things took its own little very nice turn. It did not do it took the whole using religion in a different way, not so much on like traditional religion, but what you hold faith in, what you have based your life on, and everything that you hold good about your life, which is definitely different. It's so that was an interesting scene for sure.
Absolutely, and it definitely painted a different kind of picture of the characters than you would usually expect to see in this kind of horror story. And it also sets up for a beautiful melancholy ending. And I loved the last 2 pages of that book so much.
I do too, but I don't know. There's one of the other things that made me want to talk about this, because lately it just seems like I keep watching these coming of age stories, and like, not that it was like a fantastic film or anything, but a couple of weeks ago I watched the film Blockers, and it's a modern comedy, but it also has the disguise of a coming of age story, because it's about high schoolers, and they're basically sort of like last few weeks of high school, and just like in my best friend's Exorcism, it brings up the idea of when you leave high school, everyone you pretty much know, you're pretty much going to leave behind for good. And I'm like, and even when I read that, and the problems that they started having after they both graduated and went off to college and everything, I was like, while that does happen, and I can understand this somewhat with the time periods of Facebook not really being around yet, I did have a hard time believing that two people who went through that much would start drifting apart so much that it's like years that before they talk to one another again.
Yeah, and especially, like my family never really left Duplin County, so they are still in touch with so many of the people that they went to. Well, at least my mom, she's still really close friends with several she went to high school with. So
yeah, so is my aunt, who she's like in her 60s, and she still talks to people that she went to high school with, and that was probably the only thing I had against the book was its approach to that subject, because even in the last few pages, she makes the comment, Gretchen, that the only reason that she can find that she keeps coming back to her friend and talking to her is because she's the only one who knows that she's not crazy. And I'm like, really? I was like, that's kind of fucked up.
It is.
And I was like, that's like the only criticism I have, because I don't find that particularly believable based on what they went through together. I do realize that people do drift apart, but typically as people, while they were friends, they weren't like, diehard friends. They didn't, basically, save each other's life or whatever. They didn't go through what these two went through. Though I was happy with the way the book resolved in the end, even if it was, kind of sad. It still, that's the only criticism I have about his approach to the post-high school life. It's not always that way, and honestly, it's I don't know where I'm going with it. But I just didn't agree with his approach to it.
Yeah,
another thing,
and I agree with you because, but then again, at the same time, you and I still talk. We've known each other since fucking middle school. We still talk. But how many other people from high school do we still talk to?
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. You have your friends, and then you have your friends. You have the people that you got along with, and you could, have a conversation with and hang out if you're invited. But then you had the people that you did literally everything with.
Yeah, us.
Those are not the same. Those are not the same things.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
And I guess it can happen to where eventually some people can just end up just drifting apart just because life gets busy, but I guess you stop being fucking lazy and actually make an effort.
Right.
Anyway, another thing I want to talk about with this book is the covers. Because one of the things that I have griped about when it comes to books here in America is just the overwhelming shitty approach to marketing and book covers. So many of them blow hard.
Yep.
However, but this book, I actually enjoy both covers that they have.
Oh yeah, both cover arts are amazing, and that's why whenever you found the hardcover at Mr. Mike's last time you were here, or one of the times you were here, I was torn because it's like, man, this cover art's amazing, and it's done in the style of a yearbook, so it's got all the signatures on the inside.
It's got the yearbook and even inside the cover, like the first couple of pages, it has like the signatures that people would go around and do on people's yearbooks.
But then my copy, the paperback.
And see, that's what I was also going to go. Is a VHS
and
the paperback
cover.
Copy? Yeah, the paperback copy not going to be outdone. The size to go for the 70s, 80s style
VHS
covers, the VHS covers from the back in the day, and that too is just an equally awesome book cover that just
that book demands to be read when you see it in a store. And I swear to you, I didn't think that it was in hardcover until I saw it, online afterwards. I thought that the paperback cover was the original cover because I was like, oh my god, I have to read this. I don't care if it's the dumbest thing ever. I want to buy this book because this cover art is fantastic.
Yeah, they're not the only ones who've done that, and like the Sandman Slim series does the whole B-style VHS covers.
Yeah, they did the exploitation film posters.
Yeah, and I love the concept. It's great, and I wish more people would take more pride in their work and not just choose to go with whatever is just given to them, like so many seem to do. Like, this is also a young adult novel. So many young adult novels have this shitty trend of like, okay, let's just have a green background. Let's add some flame in there somewhere, and let's Photoshop a person on the front. There you go.
Done.
Why?
Here's my check.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you cheap out? And it's not just like unknown novels, books. Even the popular novels, even the ones that sell millions of copies, still do this. And I'm like, why would you do this to your book? For one, the actor is not the actor, but the model, the person that you're using, is not going to age along with the rate that you write. Most of the time, you take 2 or 3 years to write a book, so by the point in time the next one comes out, the person's age beyond what your character that they're trying to portray is. Why wouldn't you contract someone, if you're going to have a person up there, paint or draw the representation of what you have in your head?
They could always just take a bunch of pictures at one time and then dress them up whenever they make the cover art.
I can, but still, I hate the whole real person on the cover gimmick.
I've seen
there are some
truly awful cover arts like that.
Yes, there are, and urban fantasy is just littered with them.
Yep.
And, yes, the Dresden books do it too, but they cheat. They cheat because you never see his face.
That's true.
So you always see the hat covering his face. It's over his shadow all the time. So you can get anybody to do it. So that way, yeah, you can get away with it. But I guess I'm just getting spoiled by all the work that Subpress does with their covers, because I just feel like they put so much work into getting covers really good, while these writers do nothing but just accept whatever's handed to them.
Well, to be honest, the writer gets very little choice in the matter in the end. They're at the will of their publisher. They can't just say, "Oh, that cover sucks," and they're gonna be like, "Well, tough shit."
It depends. I mean, some people are able to choose their who does their covers, and some aren't. But I guess if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, you get whatever they hand to you, which is like most urban fantasy, because it's not, while a lot of people read it, it's still not the most widely read genre in the world.
Nope, it sure isn't. And some authors get lucky. Like, if you have ever seen the original cover art for Old Man's War, it's not amazing.
No,
not
at all.
But then they changed it to that very basic Tor space opera cover art that's on every Tor space opera afterwards.
Yeah, they took a page out of Bantam's book.
Yeah, and it's fine. It looks great afterwards. But man, I've got the Old Man's War hardcover and I love it because I have the original print of Old Man's War now. But yeah, it's kind of dodgy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So, My Best Friend's Exorcism. You should read it if you enjoy any of the above things that we talked about when it comes to either the 80s, horror novels. If you want to do young adult stuff, it's great there too. If you like any of that stuff, read it, because it will not disappoint.
And even though it's not my thing of the week, I agree. You should. It's so good. I got Brandon to buy it and read it, and I think you should too, whoever you are listening to this. Probably Kitty. Hi, Kitty.
Who loves Kitty?
We'll send Kitty an MP3 whenever we're done recording. So, my thing of the week, I was originally going to do an album, but I ended up deciding to do something else. This is my thing of the week. It is Motor Girl by Terry Moore. Terry Moore is the author of the amazing Strangers in Paradise and Echo comic series, which are also really good, but they're not my thing of weeks. This is my thing of week. This book tells the story of Samantha Lockyer. She's a veteran of the war in Iraq. She survived 2 IED attacks, and she's also a prisoner. She was at one time a prisoner of war. She was a POW for 10 months.
Fun.
Yeah, it was rough. And it was so rough, in fact, that when she got back to the States, she was working at Libby's Scrapyard, this complete junkyard where she's like digging stuff up and, digging up car parts and stuff like that, with her very good buddy who's a gorilla. Yeah, she lives with a gorilla. And the book sets up pretty quickly that the gorilla's not there. That she's suffering PTSD, and Mike, her gorilla buddy, is not really there. One night, a flying saucer crashes in the scrapyard.
Okay.
She goes outside and repairs the UFO, and she thinks it's a hallucination as well, but it turns out there's 2 alien handprints on her butt the next day. So the book goes right in there and starts playing with your questioning of what is really happening out here in the middle of the desert, and what is going on in Samantha's head the entire time. You see her going to doctors, and her health is at risk from what she dealt with when she was in Iraq. And a lot of what her story is about is being able to leave the war behind. It's entirely a story of her trying to reestablish what life means after being at war and being in that POW camp for 10 years. And as you can expect with Terry Moore, what you get is a story that will make you laugh first, and laugh several times. It's going to put a great big smile on your face, and then it's going to spend a large portion of the book gut-punching you emotionally. It is very short. It's been collected into an omnibus recently. I actually got this back in March whenever it came out. It's the hardcover omnibus, and it's lovely. And it's got beautiful artwork inside, and it's even got a little sketchbook section in the back. And the art is typical Terry Moore. It's that wonderful cross between an indie comic book and, well, it is an indie comic book, that level of quality, and like a newspaper strip.
Mm-hmm.
Your aliens are these little green men stereotypes in a flying saucer. This looks like 1950s aliens, and they're hilarious, and they don't speak English. They only say beak and beep.
Oh God.
Like I said, this book will make you laugh for most of it, but there's a great scene where Sam and Mike are arguing about Charlie Parker and whether or not he has any style or not. And Sam makes the argument that without Charlie Parker, we would have never gotten Miles Davis. And then with the angelic choir and a calligraphy script, it's Miles Davis. Oh, it's so wonderful. And Mike's hilarious. Mike's a lot different of a character than Sam. He's very sarcastic, very blunt. And he is a character himself. Libby, who is this tiny little old woman who owns the scrapyard, she's letting Sam stay there because she's a veteran. She needs to come here and be here as long as she needs to. That's where the B plot comes in. What's really going on. Some shadowy guys are trying to buy the scrapyard from Libby, and she won't say yes because that's where Sam's living, and Sam needs to be there as long as it takes for her to get back on her feet.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out somebody's built a device that pulls flying saucers out of the sky, and he wants that land since he knows that that's where the spaceships are coming in at. That's a plot all of its own, and I'm leaving out some stuff because the outcome of the book is wonderfully bittersweet in terms of finishing the arc with Sam having to go off to war and what that will mean for her future. I love this book. I've ranted and raved about it on Facebook. I've told you about it, and I've been trying to get you to read Strangers in Paradise too. So, yeah, I as soon as I heard about this book, I was at my comic shop here in town back in January. Mm-hmm. And I was picking up my copies of Amory Wars. which is the Claudio Sanchez written story that is based on the Coheed and Cambria albums, which I haven't gotten issue 11 yet. They haven't released that, apparently. And they were like... And I saw a poster on the wall for this thing. I was like, what is that? No, it wasn't even that. It was I was actually trying to pick up Strangers in Paradise, and they were like, well, did you read Motor Girl? I was like, wait, what? What is that? Tell me what that is. And the girl described it to me in brief. It's about how it's about an Iraq vet who is hallucinating a giant gorilla living with her. And I'm like, is it collected? Where is it? And she's like, the omnibus is coming out in March. She's like, order me one right there. How much is it going to cost? $40. Order me one.
Jeez.
Well, it's hardcover. I mean, and it's an independent book press. So I mean, I'm fine with paying the extra little bit of money because let's put it this way. I read Fables Volume 7 in hardcover this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Fables. Fables is great. But inside of that hardcover was like 9 issues, and they were not a full story arc. They're like this little stopgap bit in between the major arcs of what's going on in the
It was a full story arc?
No, it's like little tiny stories that take place in between a full story arc.
Okay.
And it's like, this was so disappointing. If I'd paid the full $30 for this, I'd be very angry right now, considering I don't have book 8 to read right now. It's the fact that I don't have book 8 that was disappointing, because it's a fine couple of stories anyway, but the fact that I don't have the next one pisses me off. So if I had to pay $10 more than the list price for that one, and I get a full, complete, amazing story rather than a couple of okay story arcs that take place in the middle of bigger story arcs of Fables, worth it. Worth every penny. Now, this is the one thing is, if you don't like black and white, well, you're wrong. But this book's also in black and white, and Terry Moore does a lot with beautiful, beautiful images in black and white. Anything you want to add so that I can answer questions instead of just gushing?
I don't really know. I've not read this one, and my exposure to him has been
just those
sort of
issues,
brief.
Right?
Right now it's just the 3 issues. So it's no. I've read a couple of issues past the first 3.
Okay, so you've started the I Dream of You arc.
Because she went away and she has come back.
Yeah. Okay. You need to get back to that so that I can talk to you more about Terry Moore. I will say this for existing Terry Moore fans. Motor Girl takes place in the same universe as his other comics. They all take place in the same universe. Which is going to be really fun, finishing Strangers in Paradise and then going to read Echo and so on. I've never actually read Rachel Rising. I'm going to have to pick up an omnibus for that one because I read the first few issues and it wasn't selling me when I first tried to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And this may have had something to do with that I'm a little bit burned out on zombie stories, and this one's not really a zombie story exactly. But
wow,
I have to read it. But it's 42 issues, and I think if I had to try and collect all the individual issues on that one, I would lose my mind because I only have like 4 or 5 of them. All right. That was the thing a week. The thing a week. Thing a week. So, go out and buy our thing a weeks and enjoy them because they are very good. Mine's a little more cost prohibitive, but it's very good. It's worth every penny, and Terry Moore is forever an author worth reading the works of. Okay, so this is another introductory thing, and I hope Brandon's picked something out for this because we're having a little trouble deciding some aspect of it. So the last segment of the new revised Z Trigger podcast is the Game Challenge. The Game Challenge, Brandon. The Game Challenge each week will involve Brandon and I challenging each other to a relatively minor thing to do in a game in each other's collection. And we will have to do it, else we have to do another thing. And we're still deciding on what the wager and the stakes of this are. I've got an idea for it, but we haven't talked about it yet, so I'm not going to tell you here on the show. But, Brandon, have you got a challenge for me yet?
Yeah.
What is your challenge?
You, sir, you have to play through and defeat the first boss in Bloodborne.
I can't. My PS Plus subscription died.
What?
Yes, it lapsed. It's over.
Damn
I
it.
don't have access.
One
sorry.
thing, I mean, that's one of those things that I'm like, I'm keeping this because I'm not losing access to all my stuff.
Well, I still have access to it whenever I buy PlayStation Plus again, but we don't have any money right now. Because I bought $40 Motor Girl back in March. Oh, I'm sorry. So have you got something else to throw at me?
Because that was a legitimate, good challenge, and now because you don't own any of the other titles, I could say pull any of them and just defeat the first boss. Because in any one of those games, that's a challenge.
I apologize, Brandon. My PlayStation Plus lapsed, so I cannot do that one. I had a much simpler challenge for you anyway. So while you think of another one really fast. Your goal, sir, by the next time we podcast is to finish disc 1 of Grandia.
That might actually be kind of hard.
Well, I mean, you've got 2 weeks. Unless you lost your save file. I don't see that bad.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it's weird. When I originally played that game, I was into it a whole lot more than I am this time around. So I'm having a hard time playing because I can't get myself like really devoted to it.
I can kind of understand what you mean, but at the same time, you have your goal, and you have 2 weeks. This is me just trying to help you with the other. We also have our side challenge, where by the end of the year he has to finish 12 games I suggested to him, and I have to finish 6 that he's given to me. I'm at the end of my 3rd one, but it's nightmarishly difficult, and that is Dark Forces 1. Finishing the game has been challenging. I'm on the last level, though. So, Brandon, have you come up with an alternate challenge for me?
No, because most of the games you have aren't exactly challengeable. Not a word, but I'm using it as a fucking word, so fuck you.
I have plenty of hard games.
Yes, but it's like I don't know what state you are in so many of them, and a lot of them, as we have stated, of our fandom of RPGs are RPGs.
That is true. But that's why I threw the length challenge at you in the RPG category. You can do the same to me, now.
But I don't know where you are on most of them, so it's like you have to get so far.
Just you can always try me, and we can organize this a little more better next time. Let's see. I'm going to my Backloggery page now. Which, by the way, this isn't really something I can advertise, but Backloggery is a great website to track your video game collection, what you've beaten and what you have not. And
yeah, if you can remember to update the damn thing.
Aside from a few lapses, you're right. I didn't realize that The Wolf Among Us was not in my collection, and whenever I put that in, I had to say that I had beaten it already, which was good because it actually dropped my percentage when I added it, so I still got an increase in my percentage. I have now beaten 30.5% of my games that have an ending, which is horrifying. Because by that number, I've only finished 185 games of the 600 and 7 that have endings.
If I'm not mistaken, you're toward the end of Quantum Break, aren't you?
I am at the end of Quantum Break.
Then you should finish Quantum Break.
You know what? That's a fair challenge because the final stage of Quantum Break is evil. So now, in this instance, we will describe the challenge that lies before us. In Quantum Break, the final quote-unquote boss is basically a rush of enemies accompanied by area effect attacks that can kill you in one hit, including one that fills 75% of the entire room, and you have to run away from the splash damage as it's going off and be on the opposite side to finish it. You only have to get through 2 waves, but let me tell you, people, those 2 waves are monstrously frustrating. Let me tell you how frustrating. Whenever I was first playing through the game, or the only time I played through the game, when I was playing through the game, I was like, man, this game's really fun. I might actually crank this up to hard and do this a second time, do the other options, and get the full 1,000 point gamer score on this one. Which is not something I've really done for a whole lot of games, but I was having a good time with it. And then I got to the final boss. When I got to the final boss, I was so angry with this thing because I couldn't beat it. I have had that game since launch day, and I have not finished it. So yeah, Brandon's challenge accepted, sir. Now, you've said, attachment to that game has prevented you from finishing it.
Where are you at this point? I can't remember if I'm at the Twin Towers or at the mysterious Vanishing Hill. I think I'm at Twin Towers, but I can't remember. I remember going to the volcano, but I don't remember how far past that I went.
It's been so long since I played that game.
Anyway, it's toward the end of disc 1. There's there's either 4 events left on disc 1, or there's 3 events left in disc 1.
That's not too bad. That's
No.
really fair. It'll probably take you less time to get through those 4 events.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know it won't take me long. I just have to do it.
Then it will be to me to kill that one boss that should only take a normal person 6 minutes to do, based on the length of the gunfight. I'm not even kidding when I say that's one of the hardest things I've ever done in a third-person shooter.
Damn.
In a modern third-person shooter, rather. Like, I can't get past level 1 of Siphon Filter, but that's because it's not exactly aged gracefully. And I was never good at Siphon Filter anyway. Although I got really close to beating that first level of Siphon Filter the last time I played it. I'm really shit at that game. All right. Do you have any recommendations on the stakes, though, Brandon?
Mm-mm.
Well, we will discuss the stakes part, and we will let everybody know on the next episode of the show what the stakes were. Sorry to make that less interesting to everybody.
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure what they could be.
There's got to be a fail state for this event.
I mean, we could always say bragging rights. Have a counter. Of basically, who has the highest completed challenge. Most challenges completed.
That's actually not a bad idea. We can just do that for now. We'll do that for now, and if anybody's got any recommendations, leave a comment wherever you found this particular podcast, and we'll take it into account.
Yes, and one day I will get Brad to play a Souls or a Bloodborne game. One day.
My God, I'm gonna open my mailbox on Monday, and there's me a copy of fucking Dark Souls for the Switch in there. Oh wait, no, there won't, because it's not out yet.
I was about to say, I was like, what? It came out? When?
It was supposed to come out this month. It was supposed to come out in May, rather, I think, but it got delayed. So,
well, you're safe for now.
Oh God, Brandon's gonna buy a copy of fucking Dark Souls for my Switch.
I don't know if I'm going to buy a copy of Dark Souls for the Switch. I may, just so I have another Switch game, and I may actually put effort into playing those. The only one that I've actually played through is the third one, because it's actually relatively easy.
Relatively easy.
I mean, compared to like some other games. Though, when you put Demon Souls on my fucking list, and I've gone to that, and I have made a lot of I've made a lot of progress in that. That's why I'm finally just like, these games really aren't that hard. You just can't be stupid.
Brandon, I'm stupid, period. I don't know how to play video games for the most part. That's why I play Japanese role-playing games. The only
hell, in those games, if it's not press X to make them die, I'm going to be in trouble. Which is why I can't play tactical games.
And yet Final Fantasy Tactics is on your list too.
Yes, I know.
You how many games have you finished on the list?
Was it 2, 3? I think it's 2.
It's two, I know of 2.
Yeah, I think it's just the 2. I've started a bunch of them, but I've only finished the 2.
You need to get back to it, man. You haven't beat one in a while. You're behind on the average you need to be at.
Well, I can't help it. They're all long, or they're all incredibly frustrating. I've actually started a bunch of them. I've started Riven. I've started Dark Souls. I've started Grandia. I have started...
Half-Life 2.
Yeah, before I started Half-Life 2. I have not touched Second Son. I've not touched Tactics.
Oh, hell, you could knock out Infamous Second Son in a week if you focused on it.
We'll see.
I really like that one.
I probably still have my save file somewhere, so I got a game going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what I'm doing with some of my stuff. I'm picking up games that I've already started and trying to finish them. Although I had to start Dark Forces from scratch. Thankfully,
that's okay. You've gotten through that one pretty well.
I have done fairly well. Like the previous attempt at finishing Dark Forces was about 4 years ago when we first moved to Raleigh. I was capturing footage for it to do like a little web video about some of my influences behind my writing, because I consider Dark Forces an influence on how I got to want to write. And that's a story for another day in a way. But I got to mission 8 and got stuck. And then I lost that save file when my computer decided to completely commit suicide thanks to Windows 10. So I don't have that. I didn't have that anymore, so I had to start from scratch. And somehow, thankfully, I've gotten to the end on the PlayStation version. I'm still not sure how I've done it, but I'm at the last level. My God, that last level's hard because of all of the Dark Trooper fights. They are comically hard. You only get 4 tries. I'm so spoiled by modern first-person shooters. Like, oh, you didn't make it? Well, here, start again at the checkpoint and see if you can do it this time. Fucking 90s games didn't mess around. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to the new and definitely more varied Z-Trigger podcast.
Yeah.
And we will be back in probably 2 weeks, because I still have to get through another week of retail work. And we will be back with another episode in 2 weeks, and we'll have a new thing a week. We will be talking about anime. We will be talking about the challenge, and we will let you know how that has turned out. And until then, we'll see you later.
Laters.